The history of the 3D printer. 3D printing has been around since 1984 when Charles Hull invented a printing process that enabled a 3D object to be printed from digital data. In 1992, Charles Hull's company, 3D Systems, made their first printer that was able to build products layer by layer overnight. Then, in 2002, scientists were able to successfully print a functional kidney for an animal. In 2006, the first selective laser sintering machine is made, which uses a laser to fuse materials into 3D products. That same year, the company Objet made a machine that could use multiple materials while printing. In 2008, a person was able to walk for the first time using a prosthetic leg that was created solely from a 3D printer. In 2009, MarkerBot Industries began selling kits so people could print their own products at home. In 2011, Core Ecologic unveils Urbi, a car with a body made completely out of 3D technology. And finally, in 2012, doctors and engineers in Netherlands used a 3D printer to create a fully functional lower jaw made from titanium, which was then implanted in an 83-year-old woman.
Could you give us a quick overview of how these machines work?
Yes.
These printers?
Yep, I can give you an overview of the FDM style, which is the one that's running behind me. So the FDM, it's fused deposition modeling. That's what the acronym is for. It's basically successive layers of plastic material laid down onto a table, and over time, the layering builds a physical item from nothing. So you start out, the basic processes, you start out with a CAD file. And once you have that CAD file, you convert the CAD file into an STL format. And that's a file for 3D printing. And then from the STL format, you take that and you convert that into the printer software that you load it into the printer software. And then from there, you load that file into the printer and then hit print. And then what the printer does from there is it takes the STL file and figures out all the polygons and stuff inside that file and basically creates tool paths. And what it does from there is the tool path basically takes, on the machine behind me, it takes ABS filament, so it's ABS is the same type of material as Legos. I'm sure that everybody knows what Legos are. It takes what they call a filament, which is basically just a round piece of plastic, and it extrudes it out of a nozzle into successive layers, one after another until the part's done.
What are some of the things that you and your business have printed?
I printed many different things. I got a 3D printed adjustable wrench here that I printed. This is not designed by me, but I grabbed it online and printed it. I printed a Ford V6 EcoBoost engine, at least portions of it. I printed just a giant nut and bolt. Doesn't really do anything, but look fancy. And I've actually ventured into doing some of my own stuff where I have some phone stands that hopefully will end up selling in the future, and many other things.
There are many types of 3D printers on the market. Can you tell us a little bit about the different types of 3D printers, like the price range, speed, size, etc.?
Yep. First and foremost, as far as speed goes, I wouldn't overly concern yourself with any type of speed on a 3D printer. They're slow machines in terms of once the print starts, but in terms of throughput and getting a prototype done, they're very quick compared to traditional manufacturing practices such as CNC machining, stuff like that. And yes, there's different kinds. You have FDM style, which is what's going on behind me. That's a fused filter. I can't remember the name of it, but FDM is the plastic layering system. There's, I I forget the technical name of it, but it's more of a like an epoxy style or a polyurethane style system where it adheres layers of polyurethane or epoxy, and then it UV cures it. And it's similar to the FDM style. There's laser sintering, which deals more with metals, which is completely different than what's going on here. It's metal systems that you're basically fusing powdered metal together. And then there's some wax systems that I'm not entirely familiar with. I know what they do and basically how they work, but I'm not, I don't have the specifics on the actual detail of the printer itself. So there's many different kinds of machines out there and styles of printers.
For enhancement, the 3D printer enhances manufacturing. It can customize plastic or metal prototypes with exact precision. It also makes products more accessible. The product you want is retrieved from your printer instead of the retail store or internet. It has caused breakthroughs in the medical field by layering cells into body organs or prosthetics. Obsolescence. The 3D printer obsoletes molding and sculpting tools. The 3D printer uses a computer with the CAD software, which allows people to build their product virtually instead of physically. In the future, the 3D printer will obsolete organ and tissue donation because the printer is able to recreate body parts.
For retrieval, the 3D printer brings back the printer. The printer plays an important role for this technology. It brings back the model because before people may have skipped the step of creating a model before building the actual item. Now people design a 2D model on the CAD computer and the 3D printer builds the actual item. The 3D printer retrieves more job opportunities for engineering, architecture, and graphic design. For reversal, when carried to its full potential, the 3D printer reverses into copyright infringement. People can access free sharing websites and print other people's ideas without their permission. For example, a person may copy the design for Legos products. In the future, 3D printers will change the economy. People will go to stores to buy the elements of their desired product and use their 3D printer to create the product. This changes the economy because more people will buy the raw materials instead of the full finished product.
Other potential reversals this technology has on society could include the overuse of 3D printing. There could be too much junk people thought they wanted, and since it was possible for them to print it off, they created it. 3D printing could also have a negative impact on the economy due to the ability to print off items instead of going to a store and buy them.
Where is the 3D printing industry at right now? What types of businesses interact with the 3D printing industry?
The 3D printing industry, I believe at this point in time, is primarily used for rapid prototypes for design businesses. So the business that I work in, and usually the people that I work with, the goal of those designs and the goals of those prints is prototyping. So they're trying to reduce life cycles or project cycle time by creating prototypes that they can test, form, fit, and function with. And that's what I see mainly. And like I said, it's mainly design companies. Now, if you go look online, you can see that there's jewelry companies that are actually using 3D printers now. And that's the wax system that I was mentioning before. They end up making wax molds to create rings and stuff like that. So it's starting to get into more and more industries outside of
Where
manufacturing.
do you see the 3D printing industry headed, and where do you see the most growth in it?
The 3D printing business is, in my opinion, is only going to get bigger. I believe that the rapid prototyping that these machines allow designers and engineers to work with, it drastically speeds up the life cycle of the project, and it actually increases your quality Your throughput decreases costs. So I believe that the biggest immediate growth is going to be in those types of businesses where it's design oriented. You know, I've seen things by going to trade shows and stuff where I've seen like replicas of Adidas shoes where they print them all in one piece, and it's got soft rubber, hard rubber, and you can actually wear the thing. You can print it on the machine. So there's going to be companies similar to that making things. When I refer to manufacturing companies, the stuff, or design companies, the traditional stuff that I'm referring to is like plastic components and metal components. But with some of the newer technology now there's going to be other companies like shoe companies, jewelry companies that are going to adventure into this technology.
Here are the societal impacts for 3D printing. In the present, it will only affect a specific audience, and this audience includes engineers, architects, and graphic designers.
In the future, 3D printing will be a household product. Most families will have and use 3D printers somewhat regularly. To what degree is in the air? It could be used for anything as advanced as printing off shoes and other commonly used items, or it might be used as something where we only replace some plastic apparatus that belongs on other items where we're not actually printing whole items as themselves.
There's also a lot of skepticism with the possible side effects of the 3D printer. Recently, 3D printers have printed working guns and have even printed other 3D printers. Do you think that there is any legitimacy to this skepticism about the possible side effects of the 3D printer?
I do not think there's any negative side effects about 3D printing. In terms of 3D printers printing other 3D printers, that's absolutely impossible right now. They can't print electronic components. So that's not a possibility at this point in time. Maybe many years down the road, yes. It can reprint certain pieces of itself, like gears, rods, housings, stuff like that. But anything electronic, wires, copper, it's not going to be able to do that right now. In terms of the 3D printed guns, I myself don't really have any concern with it. You can't take anybody off the street and have them go buy a 3D printer because, first of all, yes, they are getting cheaper, but there is certain technology and certain knowledge that's required in order to do this type of work, and it's not something that some average person is going to know. So yes, if a person wants to, yes, they could. If they have the drive and the knowledge to, yeah, they could print a 3D printed gun and do whatever they're going to do with it. But I don't think that's what most people are doing with 3D printers. I think most people are doing what I intend to do in design, develop, research.
There's no future, like it's possible that it's just going to be like everyone's going to have a 3D printer and you're just going to have to go to the store to buy the main elements for it.
Maybe. I'm not 100% confident in that yet. So in order for something like that to happen, I'm sure what a lot of people want to do is go buy a 3D printer and print their own spoons, cups, glasses, bowls, stuff like that. But at this point in time, the plastics, or some of the more common plastics that are used in 3D printing, are not food safe. It's not food grade plastic. It's not going to stop people from trying it, but you can do certain things to make it food grade or food safe. But now, in terms of you broke a knob on a drawer and you want to replace that, yes, I think you could do stuff like that. I do think there's a niche for 3D printers in the household, but again, it's if you have the willingness to learn the technology and understand how it works, then yeah, I think people will use them. But if you don't have that willingness, then you're not. It's pointless. People aren't going to want to learn stuff that they just don't understand.